1 minute here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all very much for joining us. I want to start with thanks. Thanks to our entire snow team and colleagues from around the city and city government that have been working now for 4 or 5 days around the clock to make the progress that we're starting to see right now. There are so many members of the snow team that have been working every day in 12-hour shifts around the clock that have allowed us to make significant progress on the roads. We're going to talk more about that. I also want to thank the entire community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying off the road, staying home, staying warm, allowing our crews to get the roads clear as quickly as possible. Now that the snow stopped last evening, and we're very fortunate that we have some sunshine right now, that is helping our recovery efforts. So first, thanks. We're going to talk about the road conditions today, where we are, and what you can expect to see over the coming coming hours and days. And then also we're going to talk about this extremely cold weather, that even though the snow is gone, even though that we're getting the roads back to passable and in a safe condition, it is going to be frigid cold for the coming days, and what you should know about all of that. So in terms of roads, we've got, well, behind here, but we've got, you can see around the city that we are making significant progress. I was thrilled that when I left my house this morning and got to a main road, we were able to see pavement. That is happening more and more on our interstates, on our main thoroughfares, on our snow routes that are marked in there. We've got 111 snow routes, as we've talked about, 2,750 miles. Now, just because we're making good progress, there's still slick spots, and we still need people, if they are going out, to use extreme caution. Hopefully, people will stay home for the remainder of today to give our crews as much time for the rest of the day, let the sun do its work, and get through the night before tomorrow. Some of our routes have received up to 5 passes. As always, you can check on our progress at louisvilleky.gov. We, again, by tomorrow, we expect to be in an even better position than we are today. But the fewer cars that are on the road, the better. And so, again, thank you so much. Now, just again to clarify, we have 2,750 miles on our snow routes. KYTC does all of the highways. Some of the home rule cities within Jefferson County, like J-Town and Middletown and Anchorage, they do plowing. Homeowners associations do some plowing, but not every street will be plowed. And so there's still going to be areas for people that we know it might be tough to get to a main thoroughfare. Right now, there are certainly intersections that are challenging and some slick spots. We're going to be addressing those throughout the remainder of the day. On my drive in downtown this morning, we had to hop out to help somebody who was stuck in one of those intersections where some plows had crossed paths and there was a buildup of snow. Now, as I've mentioned, in anticipation of this large snow event, in addition to the 60 trucks that we have as part of our fleet at Louisville Metro Government, we brought in an additional 10 trucks to help us with that. They've been helping on our snow routes, and knowing that there are areas beyond our snow routes that also need assistance, we are going to start having those contractors help out with some of these additional neighborhood streets. But we've got 100 people working around in 2 different shifts, so 200 people in total that continue to work on our snow routes. And we think we've made a lot of this progress because of the extra work that was done before this event. The $3 million of investment in new equipment, the pre-treating with extra additives that we brined and still we're salting as we plow, all of that has helped significantly, so our plows have been very effective when they can get to the streets. That combination of that effort ahead of the storm helped prevent the snow from bonding into a solid layer of ice, which sometimes happen, so that our plows could do their work and push the snow and slush off of the roadways. So again, the sun is helping, and we're going to continue to make progress throughout the rest of the day. So far, we've used 9,600 tons of salt during this effort. Now, we started with about 30 tons available, so we have plenty, and we've even ordered more, so we will continue to be well stocked on salt. We're going to continue to focus around the clock on this until all of our snow routes are clear. Now, a couple things before I hand it over to Bill Bell to go into a little bit more detail from the Department of Transportation. If you are a private contractor that's working on private property, please do not put your snow into the public right-of-way. I saw some instances of that myself driving around town this morning. Others, we've seen that in other areas as well. Please keep your snow on the property and don't push it into our roadways or public right-of-ways. That just creates more hazards. It makes it more difficult for our team to do their work. Also, we want people to stay off the roads, cars. That also means pedestrians. We've seen people that are walking. I even saw someone out for a morning run this morning on one of our main roads because that was what was plowed. Please, as pedestrians, should stay off the road. That is not a safe place to be during these conditions. I also want to thank our fleet and facilities team. They have done an amazing job of keeping our trucks out there on the road. We have very few trucks that have had issues, but those that have, they've been able to get service and get back on the road quickly. So we're going to have some other people fill you in on lots of other things that are going on around the city and some tips to deal with the weather that we're going to continue to deal with over the coming days. First, I'm going to hand it off to Bill Bell, who runs our Department of Transportation. Bill?
Thanks, Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, road conditions have vastly improved, and that's encouraging. But it's important, and I say this clearly, improved does not mean every road is safe and fully passable. We still have some slick spots out there, especially in shaded areas and less traveled roadways. Our snow team will continue to work in 12-hour shifts until we get the roads as clear as possible. This remains an active operation. Yesterday, I thought we'd start seeing pavement by this afternoon. I was wrong, and the mayor mentioned that. We saw pavement first thing this morning, which is great. This progress is a direct result of our crews working 24/7. And so I want to shout out to our snow fighters. Thank you for doing what you do. We appreciate it, and I know the public appreciates that as well. It's important to remember they've been working more than just the last 48 hours. They've been working for about 72 hours, 24/7. The brine with a cold weather additive we applied ahead of the storm, along with the salt mixed with calcium chloride during the event, made a noticeable difference, we believe. Crews across all districts are reporting that it's breaking up on the ground, which makes it easier to plow off, way better than packed snow or solid ice. That's helping us make progress now, but there's still work to do. Our crews will continue to work around the clock until all routes are improved. And like the mayor mentioned, I want to clarify, the map is louisvilleky.gov/snow. You can see the snow map there, and it's different than the emergency snow route. So please keep that in mind. You have the general snow map, which has all of our routes, and then there's the emergency snow routes. We truly appreciate the patience and cooperation from the public and from our partners, including KYTC and as well as TARC and everybody else involved in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. As Bill just mentioned, we've got these 2,750 miles of roadways that Louisville Metro is responsible for clearing, and we have a strong partnership with KYTC, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, that clears our highways throughout Jefferson County. So here representing KYTC and to talk about their progress on our highways here in Louisville, we have Matt Bullock with us this afternoon. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. As far as the interstates go, we made tremendous progress last night. Yesterday, as we stood here, we had a lot of covered roadways, and we were concentrating on making them passable, which meant that we didn't have complete coverage or clearance. Last night, we made great progress. We are much more closer to complete clearance for our interstates. I believe there's a song that starts out, "The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home," and we are very appreciative of the sun being out today With that said, it's getting some of that radiant heating and melting going on, which means that we again have to watch out for our refreezing tonight. You can get some melting with the sun even when you have single digit temperatures. And as of right now, it's about 10, 11, 12 degrees. So we ask the public to, again, be vigilant of those areas, particularly on interstates, those transitional areas from ramps to main line and vice versa, as we call them, the gore areas. Some of those still have slushy areas and some snow. So be careful as you make your way either on or off those interstates. We continue to work 24/7 until we have complete clearance, as well as shoulders pushed back. Again, worried about that refreezing, melting snow onto the roadways, and we'll continue to work at that as the week rolls on. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I think one of the words of the weekend was echelon, people learning a new word as you guys do that synchronized plowing over multi-lanes throughout our highways in Jefferson County, and it is paying off. We know in addition to people who drive themselves, there are many people in our community who rely on public transportation. And so we have Ozzie Gibson, who's the Executive Director of TARC, to give an update on TARC's current status and their plans. Ozzie?
All right, thank you all very much. So right now our service has been suspended. We're going to try to get some service out this afternoon, and we're hoping to get most of our service out tomorrow. One of the issues we discovered is that at the end of all of our routes, we have a turnaround place. Whether we go through a neighborhood, we do something to come back. And those areas were not on the plow list. But over the last 24 hours, I've worked with Public Works, and they've got most of those solved for us, and the others they're working on as we speak. I want to thank my members that have showed up the last several days trying to get service out, my operators and my maintenance crew. They've done a great job. One reminder about TARC is at any time we could suspend service or adjust a route. So we ask everybody to go to ridetarc.org before you head to your stop. When it comes to paratransit, there again, please expect delays. A lot of these neighborhoods where you live, our vehicles from our contractor, it takes them a little while to get to you. We asked it, and we've sent messages out to please try to have somebody clean your walkways, steps leading up, because if not, it'll be tough to have door-to-door service. Big shout out this morning to PRP Fire. We had a dialysis patient this morning that we could not get to. Called the director behind me here of Metro Safe. He reached out, and they was able to come and help that person get out to our vehicle to get them safely where they need to go. So there again, please visit ridetarc.org so you can be up to date on what's happening with TARC. I'll take yours.
Thanks, Ozzie. So in addition to the snow and the roadways, as I mentioned, we're going to be dealing with incredibly cold temperatures. We already are, and that's going to continue in the days ahead. So we want to give some tips to everybody for dealing with the cold, and then what the city is doing in connection with these freezing cold temperatures, in many cases going to be below zero with temperatures and wind chills. So first, to talk a little bit more about this, please welcome someone who has been here at the Emergency Operations Center along with many others, manning the storm here and keeping abreast of everything that's going on and helping us manage it. It's our Executive Director of Emergency Management Services, Jody Myman.
Thank you, Mayor. So like the Mayor said, there's a lot of hazards that can still come even after the snow's gone. Even after the streets are plowed, as they're doing a great job on. So, you know, it's time to take care of yourselves. It's time to take care of your families, your neighbors, your pets. You know, know the tips that can take care of them through this bitter cold. Know the signs and symptoms and the differences between frostbite and hypothermia. Frostbite is that sign that's going to tell you, or those signs and symptoms that's going to tell you that you need to stop, you need to get warm before hypothermia actually takes place. So tingling in your extremities and your ears. And then, you know, the signs and symptoms of hypothermia, extreme shivering, confusion, your motor skills start to diminish. And then while you're out, you know, taking care of your driveways, you know, shoveling your driveways, it's imperative that you take care of yourself as well, especially if you're not necessarily used to exercising or doing things like that. Know the signs and symptoms of heart attacks. You know, that's a big deal. You need to pay attention to that. You need to call 911 if you experience any of those signs and symptoms, specifically Louisville Metro EMS. You know, give a shout out to them. They've been overstaffed and well-staffed since the beginning and duration of this, and, you know, been there since Saturday morning as well, along with our 911 call takers and dispatchers. So, again, make sure you're taking care of yourselves, your families, your neighbors, your pets, and, you know, we'll all get through this together.
Thanks, Jody. I want to reiterate, just when it comes to shoveling your driveway, please definitely be careful. I was out there super early this morning shoveling part of mine, and as I was reminded last night and again this morning, it is far more difficult when you have this much snow than a lot of people think. And so just be careful. Don't feel like you have to shovel everything all at once. Take your time. Do it in multi-phases. We're encouraging people to stay home at least the rest of today as well. So please be careful and don't injure yourself. Take precautions when you are shoveling your driveway. To get a little more tips about some things that you might be tempted to do that maybe you should not when it's extremely cold out there, we have our Chief of Fire, Brian O'Neill, with us today, who's going to talk a little bit more about staying safe during these extreme cold temperatures. Chief O'Neill?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So from the fire department's perspective, first and foremost, many, many thanks to all the men and women of Louisville Fire and all of our brothers and sisters in County Fire that are out there keeping their communities safe. The cold weather is actually more of a threat that we are concerned with. You know, the snow just meant that if you had an emergency, we might take just a little bit longer to get there, coming through that deep snow with chains on our snow trucks. But I'm sorry, our fire trucks. What we're concerned with are the single-digit temperatures that are going to be coming up, and we're going to be seeing those overnight pretty much for the rest of the week. So really, we got to keep people be safe when it comes to cooking. Maybe you're using a griddle or other appliances. Make sure that as soon as you're done with them, that you unplug them, keep stuff away from them. Those can ignite fires. We've talked about space heaters, extension cords, but also overnight. Open up your cabinets where you have any, like of your sinks, faucets, especially if they're on an exterior wall. Open up one of your faucets and let it drip just a little bit, just a little steady stream to make sure that those don't freeze. Because what happens then, you have no water, which becomes a health hazard, but also then you're going to be worried about flooding when those thaw out and those pipes burst. So we don't want you doing that. When you get out to your vehicles, we talked about being cautious with digging yourself out. When you get out to that vehicle, if you have to go somewhere, we don't want any unnecessary travel over the next several days until it's safe. But if you must, make sure you have plenty of equipment with you in that car to keep you safe. If you're thinking, well, I'm just going to my car and then I'm going straight in the store, have mittens, have gloves, have a hood, have all of your hats and everything else. Have a blanket in there in case you get trapped in that car to make sure that you can stay warm in the case of an emergency. Have a bottle of water, have a little food, because we've had plenty of instances where people get stuck and they're there for an extended period of time. We don't want that to be used. So please, don't travel unless you absolutely have to, but if you do, take precautions. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief O'Neill. We also know that during these extremely cold temperatures, there's a risk of frozen pipes in your house, in your place of business. So to talk a little bit more about how you can prevent that from happening in your home, we have with us today the CEO of the Louisville Water Company, Spencer Bruce. Spencer?
So first, a couple things. We're working hard, as we always do, to make sure we continue to provide great tasting, high-quality water, especially during this weather event. So I want to thank all those at Louisville Water for doing that. Operations-wise, we're stable, no issue at our plants. This time of year, though, with the cold water and the cold weather, we do have main breaks. We've had about 40 main breaks since Friday. We've got 8 today. They're all assigned. From a safety standpoint for employees, like we've all talked about, we do a lot of training. We provide them with the gear that they need and the heaters that they need to try to stay warm. So we always want to look out for them. Now for our customers, as the mayor said and as Chief O'Neill said, if you'll just visit LouisvilleWater.com, we have all kinds of references and information and resources to help make sure that your pipes don't freeze. Whether that's dripping the water or opening cabinets or even doing some insulation. All of that is there, so please visit that. We do monitor that. We call it No Water, and fortunately the message seems to be getting out there, because since Friday we've only had 40 no water complaints. The vast majority of those complaints or questions or concerns are on the private side. A lot of times next to the house. They're really not on Louisville Water side, but we're there to help. So we've only had 40, which is really good. And then the last thing from our standpoint in terms of a downtown office, our call center is available. We're open. If you have questions, you have concerns, feel free to call. And then we are also planning to be open for fully tomorrow morning at our normal times.
Thanks, Spencer. And then also, in addition to the cold weather, there are some folks that do not have a home and are out on the street that are homeless. And we are very fortunate that John Pilbeam and his team with Heart have been out every day in the days leading up to the storm, through the weekend, and still every day today and this week, that are reaching out to individuals, providing transportation, encouraging them to come inside and get warm. We're operating under white flag conditions right now, so all of our shelters are taking anyone who needs space inside. We also last week issued 3 permits to emergency shelters that are also operating as well. So I really want to thank John, you and your entire team for everything that you're doing. And as John is coming up to give an update on some of the work of his team, I also want to give a shout out to Exodus Family Ministries. They have been really helpful as some calls have come in with individuals that need help with getting some food delivered to their house where they might not have had enough to get through this situation, or that need shelter. Exodus Family Ministries has done a tremendous job and been a great partner. Thank you to them. John?
Thank you, sir. Our outreach teams have been out since early this morning. Again, transporting anyone to shelter, rehab facilities, or local hospitals if needed. We know that sometimes it's going to take 2 or 3 interactions before we can get somebody to go with us, but we're persistent. We will continue to talk to that individual as long as we can get them to go. To notify our outreach team of someone you may feel needs assistance or a ride to a shelter, please call 311, or you can enter that information in on the 311 app or website. If the individual needs medical assistance, please call 911. Heart would like to thank our warming centers. Mayor just thanked Shane and his crew at Exodus Ministries. Our shelters, we know they're working around the clock. We want to make sure we thank them for all their time. We also have gotten some word that our first responders, LMPD, fire, have transported folks to shelters. We want to thank them for their continued work checking in on folks. All information on the shelters can be found on the Mayor Greenberg's snow resource page.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much, John. And so also in connection with these cold temperatures, I just want to give some other resources. Today, we mentioned which libraries and neighborhood places were open. Tomorrow, we will have 5 neighborhood places that will be open from 10 to 4. All of our community centers tomorrow will be open on their normal operating schedules. And we will have 7 libraries that are open tomorrow: Western, Newburgh, Highland, Shelby Park, St. Matthews, the Northeast Regional Library, the Southwest Regional Library, and the South Central Regional Library will all be open tomorrow. All of that, again, is also found online. Remember to also take care of your pets in addition to taking care of yourself. Given everything that we're dealing with and the fact that there are folks that live not on a snow route, on a street that will not be plowed by tomorrow for the reasons we talked about earlier, I just want to encourage employers to continue to be flexible over the coming days with their employees. And before we open it up to questions, I also want to thank Liz from LG&E. Thank you very much for all the work that LG&E does. We're pleased with their response time, and we're fortunate that our community was not hit harder by any significant power outages as a result of the weather. Again, before we take questions from members of the media, thank you. Thank you to everyone who is working so hard to help others during this severe weather situation. Thank you to the community for listening and staying home yesterday and today. Just because we're making progress and the sun is out does not mean we're back to normal. So if you do go out, please use extreme caution when you're driving around town. Drive slow and make sure you take care of yourself, your family, and your pets. It is going to be incredibly cold even once our roads are back to where we want them to be. Thank you all so much. We will have one more briefing on this storm and our response tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We hope that is the final one as it relates to the recovery from this significant snowfall and cold temperatures that we've had over the past several days. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media.
Mayor, as far as people walking down the middle of the streets, who's responsible for clearing up the sidewalks? Because they're dangerous.
So that is correct. So the question was about walking down the middle of the streets and the sidewalks. Our focus is on the roadways first. So we want to get the roadways clear. And the sidewalks, in terms of whose responsibility, the answer is it depends. In many cases, it's the private property owner who is responsible for clearing the sidewalk in front of their private property. Then, of course, there are also sidewalks that are in front of public property. That is the public's responsibility. But right now we're focused on roadways. But if you're downtown, for example, you'll see many instances of private property owners that have already taken care of their sidewalks. Louisville Metro government, in many cases, has taken care of the sidewalks in front of its properties.
On LMPD's tweets over the last, we had people write in, they were not necessarily happy and they thought that it's not being taken as seriously as it should. A lot of people were responding. Yes, there was fun with it to an extent in a serious situation. They were called into HR today. Do you have any comment?
The question was about LMPD's tweets yesterday and over the weekend, many of which had a more humorous take. Let me say this. LMPD officers, our firefighters, our EMS officers, our snow team, snow fighters, they've all been working round the clock to help keep people safe. That has been their focus, and they should be commended for the tremendous job that they're doing. Some folks are trying to have fun online, on the account, during a time when a lot of people are at home, are on social media. They take their jobs incredibly seriously, and so nobody should be confused with the clearly and obviously humorous tone of some comments that they've been making online with the serious nature of their work and the seriousness which every one of our LMPD officers takes with the work that they perform every day.
What resources are available for anybody that currently doesn't have heat?
So if you currently don't have heat, we would encourage you to call 311. Depending on the reason, there are several things. But for example, I mentioned Exodus Family Ministries earlier. Some people have called in and they did not have heat. They were able to bring them space heaters. In other situations, if we need to find shelter space for individuals, we can transport them to shelters as well. So depending on the specific situations of why someone might not have heat will impact what our response is. But we do encourage people to call 311 if they do not have heat in their home.
Mayor, when it comes to the plows plowing off roads, sometimes people are having trouble turning right into parking lots and that kind of thing.
Right.
Where does that, I guess, that lie with private property, and just because that seems to be the trouble that people are having is turning into lots.
Yes, so the question was about when you're turning into private property or a parking lot, and where does Louisville Metro government's responsibility end and where does the private property owner's responsibility begin? I was mentioning that earlier, that we have that same situation with intersections, and so that is our responsibility to clear the intersections and clear some areas where some snow has built up, and that's what we'll be working on throughout the day and throughout the night as well. This is not going to be perfect when you have this much snow. This was a significant snowfall event for Louisville, but really is based on where the property lies, and so private property owners are responsible for clearing the snow on their property. We ask that everyone use discretion to help one another out. That's why we mentioned earlier, if you're a private property owner, please don't put it into the public right-of-way or back into the street. That might clear your property, but it doesn't help the greater community at large. We've seen that's not who Louisville is. Hopefully those were inadvertent issues and just a few here and there, but that everyone's taking that in hand and just using reasonable discretion when they do that. But that's another reason why people need to move slowly, because you might be used to making a turn one way, but because of where snow is, you might have to make a little bit wider of a turn in these situations. I know driving around town, we certainly had to as well. Yes.
How many folks in the metro are currently taking advantage of the city's shelter space, and how much space, how many beds are open outside?
So the question was about how many people are taking are using the city's shelter space and how many beds are available. I can tell you that Wayside Christian Mission does have beds available, so there is still plenty of space available for anyone who needs. In terms of the exact numbers, do you have that, John?
I don't have the exact numbers. I can get that.
Okay, we'll get that for you. Each one of the shelters is operated not by Louisville Metro government, by the operators of the shelter. We'll see what information we can get on that.
Said an additional 10 trucks were brought in. You guys got 200 people who are working around the clock to clear the roads. But you also added those 20 plus new snow routes. Has that had an impact on that, or how has that been a challenge or a change for the crews?
Yeah, the question was about some of the things that we've done in preparation for this snow event and how has added. One of the other things that we did was we've added some routes to our list of snow routes, and we prepared for it. And so we are pleased with the progress that we've made. We're pleased that we made the decision early to bring in the contractor. We're going to keep him around for another 24 hours just so we can do some of that additional cleanup work, whether it's at intersections, whether it's slick spots, or whether it's some roads that we think we need to get to, even if they're not on the snow route for one reason or another, whether it's to help out TARC, whether it's to help out schools, or for other reasons. And so we're pleased with where we are.
I have a question for water.
Spencer.
Yes. So with water main breaks or people having versus, where it's your alls or versus the private property owners, I guess what's your advice? Because obviously it's going to be cold the next couple of days. We might see a little bit more than that. And then also, I know you said around 40 is what you guys have had since Friday. Is that pretty normal? Is that less? Is that more? What about it?
All right, so let me start backwards. The 41, that's actually a little less. If you look at history, I mean, we've many times through some of these events have had several hundred no water complaints. And so 40 is a lot less. We've done a lot of work to try to educate. I know that we've worked with the fire department. They've done some education too. And then in terms of some of the specifics, again, visit LouisvilleWater.com. But some of the things that you can do is any pipes that are next to the house, like your underneath sink might be next to the house, open the door, open the cabinet doors, right? You can leave water running just a very little bit, right? That as long as water's moving, it won't freeze. Could, but it's less likely to freeze, right? You can also, around the outside of your faucets, you can wrap those with some type of insulation. Quite frankly, just basic, an old-time newspaper, just newspaper can work on that. But our website has a lot more information on that. But those are 2 or 3 tips that you can do.
Spencer, do you expect water main breaks to increase once warm weather comes back?
Once the warm weather comes back, no, water main breaks will start to decrease. Now, it may take a little time. What really causes our water main breaks to happen in the first place is the water temperature, not necessarily the air temperature. Now, obviously, air temperature is related to water temperature, right? But it's the water temperature. And so it'll take a little bit of time for that to turn around. But we usually see a spike as the temperature drops on the water. And then as it settles and stables out, that spike slows and we'll just go back to sort of a normal day, which is usually 3 to 4 a day. And then as the water temperature warms, it'll go back to what a spring normal would be, which might be 1 or 2 a day.
Spencer, I have one more for you too. What's a typical response time? It depends on how bad a break is, or
it depends. A lot of it depends on the road conditions. Where's the break? How can we get there? But as soon as we get the call in, we dispatch an individual. We call them our emergency turner. They go out and they assess the situation. They usually throttle the main brake down. Depending on how bad it is, they might have to shut it all the way off. And then we assign someone, either a crew or a contractor, to go fix that. That then depends on how many availability we have, whether there's a crew available, who's available. But we usually, when the brake comes in, unless we're really overtaxed, we can usually respond to that brake and get it fixed in the same day. Now, sometimes once we're on site, it might take us 5-6 hours to get that brake completed. But our goal is to get it fixed and repaired as fast as we can to turn the water back on if we've had to turn it off. And then we do all the ancillary repairs after that.
Can Matt or Bill speak to snow and ice on cars and trucks? Because I remember during the ice storm, last storm, there were problems with people not getting the snow off the cars, but also ice coming off the trucks. Is that a concern because of all the ice?
The question was about snow and ice flying off of cars. I was actually, Paul, someone else can answer this too, but as I was clearing off Rachel's car this morning, I was thinking the exact same thing, that leaving the mohawk on the roof of a car is not helpful. So if you are clearing off your car from snow, please do as best as possible to get it all off so it doesn't go flying off into someone else's. Just asking people to use caution with that as well. I meant to say that. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Well, again, as we wrap up for today, our teams are going to continue to stay out there. We have made very significant progress. We will make even more progress through the afternoon, through tonight, and definitely tomorrow. We thank the entire community for listening to the warnings. We ask people to continue to have a little bit of patience as we get back up to full fighting strength again here over the next day or so. And we encourage employers and others to please be flexible and understanding with others, because the road conditions may vary throughout the community and depending on where you live as well. So please be flexible and understanding with one another over these coming days and stay warm. It's going to be cold. There's nothing we can do about that. We'll get the roads back in great shape. but it is still going to be freezing cold for the remainder of the week. Thank you all so much, and we'll continue to keep you updated.